The idea is to have an AI that just understands your whole life and can help you in real time proactively before you even ask.
All right, wouldn't it be great to never forget anything ever again? Hello and welcome to TechFirst. My name is Junkets here. I remember chatting with futurist and technologist Ray Kurzweil probably about a decade ago.
Mhm.
He told me at some point that we'd be able to add to our brains, just like adding nodes to a cloud computing instance. We're not quite there yet, but maybe we have the next best thing. It's called TwinMind, and we're chatting with the CEO, Daniel George, today. Hello, Daniel. How are you?
Hi, John. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me here.
Excellent. Thanks for taking some time. I know we've been trying to schedule this for a while. I'm glad we got it done. I'm glad that you're basically ready to launch. Let's start here. What is TwinMind?
So we think of twin mind like Jarvis from Iron Man or a second brain. These are the terms that we use. So the idea is to have an AI that just understands your whole life and can help you in real time proactively before you even ask. So there is no tool out there that really has built this Jarvis vision that you saw in the Iron Man movies, right?
Hmm.
Back in 2000, early 2010s. I was so inspired by it. And then ChatGPT came out and ChatGPT is just like this tiny text box. You ask a question and then you have to explain everything, all the context about your life and all that. It takes tedious crafting of a prompt and then it tells you an answer. That's it. It's not the Jarvis vision that we were hoping for.
Right, right. So break it down for people what this app is, how it works. Basically, so I've installed. I've just started using it. I'm
Mhm.
on the test version, using Test Flight right now to check it out. You tell it to start listening. It listens. What's going on?
Yeah. So what we do is we enable an AI model to run on your device to do a lot of processing on this Apple silicon and actually capture continuously the context of what's happening in your life. So what you're hearing and saying, and eventually what you're seeing as well. Right now, we are focusing on the audio first, and we have a desktop companion that also captures the context of what you see. So the goal is to have an AI that really learns with you and evolves with you. So the first step is to capture your memories, so it knows what you know. So
Hmm.
the second step is to learn from those memories, and then eventually you will have this Jarvis or AI twin over time.
Wow. Okay. Cool. So you actually have to tell the app to start recording, though, right? It just doesn't do it on its own.
No, I mean you could. So one of the innovations we did is we enabled it to have really low battery use. So you could leave it on all day if you wanted to. Like it runs 12 hours. So you could start it at 9 a.m. and just keep it on and capture your whole life. But a lot of people don't want to do that. So you also have the option of just starting and stopping whenever you like. And you might want to have one meeting separated from the next meeting and organized. So it depends on the user's preferences.
It'll just run in the background if you want it to.
Yeah, you could just start it and turn off the screen, put it in your pocket. We got the audio recognition so good that even inside your pocket,
In your pocket.
yeah, in your pocket,
Wow.
because the mic is on the bottom of the phone. So if you put it in your pocket, it's still exposed to the air and you can actually hear pretty well.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Huh. That's pretty good. Okay. So basically capturing your entire digital life, but also your actual life, because you could do it during you could set it to run during a conversation with your spouse or somebody else or anything else. So, okay, it's capturing all that information, and we'll talk about security around that. We'll talk about all those other things, but what's it going to do? Like, show me the vision when it has all of that knowledge, all that context, all that data.
So you're talking about long-term vision once it has captured
Yes.
months of your life. So we have a model that you could just ask, hey, I met this person at dinner 6 months ago. What was the thing he said? I'm meeting him again. I can't remember the name of this, his dog or something he talked about, this interesting story. So you could use it to do instant recall of your entire life. Because 90% of your memories you actually forget in a week.
I
So with
know.
that
Maybe
problem,
more.
yeah, especially if you've been having a few drinks. I don't know. But yeah, so but then that's just one thing, instant recall. The second thing is that over time, it learns your style, your talking style, your values, how you make decisions, what kind of food you like, because it's listening to your feedback from after you go to each restaurant or you book a trip and it knows which hotels you like, what kind of activities you like. So over time, it kind of builds and kind of becomes your clone,
Mhm.
kind of, because it knows how your brain works and it mirrors your style and preferences. So it could actually do a lot of mundane tasks you don't want to do, but it would book the same exact hotels you would. It would pick the Netflix show that you actually liked watching. so that you don't
It
have to
watch
spend.
it for me too?
No, but it's like if you wanted to, it can like watch it and then imagine like it can watch 10 shows and then model how your brain would react to those 10 shows and then tell you which one to watch too.
Oh, wow.
Eventually,
Clone Wars.
but the idea is the more you capture right now in phase one, as AI gets better, you can really like feed all that context and memories into it so that the AI knows you better. So people who capture more of their life today will benefit more as AI gets better and better.
So, and I know we're talking long term right now.
Mhm.
We're beyond the scope of the current app and everything. But what's actually really quite interesting for me is that every AI that we interact with and use today, in most cases, for most people, is owned by somebody else, is operating for somebody else's benefit. And maybe that's meta and it's trying to get us to consume more and watch more ads. Maybe it's Google and maybe that's kind of similar there, right? And others, yeah, they're answering questions for us, but they're owned by other people, not under our control. And I've always felt like the big win for AI is when I kind of own it in a sense. It's mine, it's extremely personal, and it can operate on my behalf under my control in ways that I would. That's kind of the vision you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Because the goal of, let's say, TikTok's algorithm or YouTube or Netflix is to keep you on that platform, Facebook, Twitter, right? It's not to like defend your interests. You might spend like most of your time just scrolling through TikTok and only like a few posts or like a few YouTube videos, but they just want to keep you hooked, right? So your interest diverge from the corporation interest. But if you had a personal AI that defends your interest, you wake up one morning, it just finds the most important social media posts or like news articles that came out that you actually want and just show you that so you can be done with it in 15 minutes and go on with your life, right?
Mhm,
Instead of just like
mhm.
mindlessly doom scrolling. So
Oh, I'm thinking like a decade out. I'm thinking like my AI that manages my finances for me. I'm
Mhm.
thinking my AI that manages my household and said, "Oh, you know what? The roof actually needs cleaning. I'll schedule that service. I'll check, 5 different local vendors for that. Find what's the best price, but align that with their reviews and pick the one that seems best, and then let you know when it's done." Type of thing, right? That all those sorts of things are things I think that we will eventually be able to get done via our own owned AI systems, so that we can do the things in life that make us feel great and make us feel fulfilled and actually provide value in our lives, right? So I'm looking all the way down there. Now, where we are today, it's capturing what you want it to capture when you want it to capture things,
Mhm.
and it's your second memory. It also connects to other services, right? I noticed it wanted to connect to my Google Calendar, for
Mhm.
instance.
Yes, it connects to your Google Calendar so it knows who you're meeting. It can pull up information about that person by searching online so that before you meet the person, you have like a little update. We haven't rolled out that feature yet, but it's coming in a few weeks. And so it also knows like the agenda of the meeting. So it has even more context and it reminds you to turn it on. And at the end of the day or end of the week, it has a recap of all the people you met and what like insights about them and things like that.
Interesting. Which presumably you could build kind of a digital Rolodex out of. Here's all the people I met. You could have some way of interfacing with that data.
Mhm.
Obviously, just asking, but also maybe a visual way and all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Super interesting. Now, there have been so many failed attempts recently at AI hardware, right? The AI Pin, Humane AI, Rabbit R1 is kind of still struggling along. I think Humane got sold to HP for basically spare parts and people. Why have those not taken off? Why have those failed?
Because I think the best wearable is the one you already have in your pocket, right? We're all used to carrying this around. It's always with us, and you don't want to carry around a second rabbit in your pocket. There's no space, and you have to remember to charge this device. And like it's like Apple is doing a really good job. They've optimized the mic over like decades, and like the battery, the silicon, the Apple silicon. They're putting in all this effort, and you just want to like capitalize on that. Eventually, you'll just have one device.
Mhm,
Maybe you'd have some pair of glasses at some point if you can overlay things, but that's it. You don't want anything else because
mhm,
this actually can capture your entire context of audio all day without draining your battery. And that's what we figured out. So, and why would you want to pay hundreds of dollars up front? And then like figure out how to use a new device when you already have one, right? And it's just a software upgrade.
I can't tell you how much I agree with that, and I felt the same way when I saw the AI pin and when I saw the rabbit, and I thought, okay, kind of cool. I get the idea, I get the sense, but you raised billions of dollars for this stupid idea. Nobody wants to carry around multiple devices. You remember people used to have like a phone and a pager, like
Mhm.
the traveling salespeople used to have like a phone and a pager. Never even understood that, but I think there was some reason for that. For what it escapes me. Somebody will know who's listening and can put it in the comments or something. But I mean, come on, two things to charge. Also, if I'm not mistaken, Humane AI, you had to get another cellular subscription for that, and I think that you could for some of the other AI hardware devices as well. So then you're a second subscription, another device. Like you said, you have to carry it, you have to store it, you have to charge it, you have to remember how to use it, all that stuff. It's just dumb. And
Mhm.
yeah, this is always with us and always around. It makes a ton of sense. Okay, let's talk about some of the technology inside. I noticed in the startup phase, I noticed Perplexity mentioned.
Mhm.
What all tech is inside and what AI are you using?
Yeah, so we are agnostic to the underlying LLMs because we are building layers above the LLM. So you could think of like in the 1970s and 80s, there are all these companies racing to build the best chips possible, right? IBM, Motorola, Intel, right? They're all like really fighting Moore's law. They're like putting everything into building the best chips. And those companies were the biggest companies at the time. But the ones that really became even bigger were like Microsoft and Apple that actually build the whole package. They build layers above the chip, the hard drive, the memory, the mouse, the monitor, the graphics, the UI, right? So today we are in a similar phase where you have all these AI companies racing to build the best LLMs. That's like just the intelligence, the equivalence of the chip, right? So, but you need much more. You need the memory layer, the context capturing layer, right? The input and the capturing your whole day. And like, then you have above that, you also have the intent prediction layer, like when to show you something, like the proactive intelligence layer. LLMs don't know when to interrupt you and show you something before you ask. So you have to build that layer, the proactiveness above it. Then you have to build the actual, like the full package with the UI and all of that. So we have all these layers above LLMs. And so we don't care what the fundamental LLM is because they're all really good at the IQ part of the human brain, but not the memory and the proactiveness and the context and all that. So
Interesting.
we can switch behind any provider on the cloud. We support all like 200 of them, like all the Mistrals and Gemini and uh, uh, XAI and OpenAI and Anthropic. They're all roughly the same. They're all basically becoming a commodity at this point. Um, so we can switch to whatever is the best one on the benchmark we just choose whichever is best for the type of question you're asking. So it automatically routes.
So let them spend their billions of dollars on GPUs.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, like that, and also we do a lot of processing on device. That's how we were able to make this actually financially feasible because the costs are 20 times lower if you do most things on device using AI models that run on the edge and then only send the tough queries that it's hard to do with a tiny model to the cloud. So that way you also have more
Hmm.
privacy, right? You're like audio, most of the audio processing can also happen on device. Even if the internet goes away, we can still capture your life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
actually, there's. Go ahead.
yeah, so if the internet goes away, we can still like keep capturing the everything as like that. You don't lose any transcript. We switch to local models, and if you want the best speech recognition in 100 languages, you can choose to do the cloud model. So you have all the choices, and there is zero data retention. So even if you use a cloud model, all these enterprise partners we have, they have zero retention policies. All the LLM providers, speech recognition on the cloud.
Mhm, mhm. The interesting thing about using the edge AI stuff is Apple's built a ton of that into their silicon, as you mentioned a couple times. Also, as we've learned recently with DeepSeek, you can get actually pretty quite amazing performance from a very small model that fits on an edge device. So that's kind of cool. Um,
Yeah. We actually were able to capitalize on all these latest open source smaller models because we have our own fine tuning process for this specific task of capturing a life. But we take the foundation model either from DeepSeek or now there's a Microsoft 5 new 5.4 model, and we just take it and fine tune it, and just so the improvements just keep happening every month because others are just open sourcing the best models.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very, very cool. Llama stuff from Meta is also
Mhm.
pretty good. Some
Yeah.
say too good to be open source, but
Yeah, I was
great
surprised
for
at the
startups.
quality of these open source models and like the amount of, and it actually helps everyone, like other startups like us, and like it makes the customer experience better. Uh, so I mean, this is like the perfect time to do something like this because this is like the AI models are just taking off, the costs are going down exponentially. People are more willing to capture more of their life, as you can see with these Meta Ray Bans are really popular. But when Google Glass launched 10 years ago, it wasn't like people were like glass holes and all that, right?
Mm-hmm. I remember that. Absolutely. Robert Scoble in the shower. Exactly. Okay. So, the vision is impressive. The vision is amazing. The downsides or potential downsides are also pretty large as well. You're giving this your entire life. You're giving this some of your potentially most intimate conversations as well as work conversations, all that stuff, trade secrets in your work conversations, all that stuff. How do you ensure that somebody doesn't access this who shouldn't?
So that's why we were developing this from the ground up to be on your device. So none of your, unless you choose to back it up, everything can stay locally on your phone. It can transcribe locally. Even if it's you ask a question to an LLM on the cloud, it doesn't get retained on the cloud, and your memories just stay on your phone. So like if you, that's dangerous because we have people saying that they have like 6 months of their data here on beta. They've captured their whole every lecture, every meeting, every person they met. They don't want to just drop the phone and lose it. So they are asking us, can we back it up somewhere? How do I back it up? So we are but then there are people, if we have an incognito mode. So if you just change it to local mode, like
Mhm.
doesn't get backed up anywhere. So you have a sensitive conversation, you turn that on, it just stays on your phone, it transcribes on your phone, and it does, if you lose your phone, it's gone. So
So that's one layer, and
Mhm,
that's good. And potentially you could back up to iCloud, which has various securities, including at least outside the UK, one that even Apple itself can't access.
mhm. And we
Um,
have that. We just enable our iCloud integration so you can back it up there on your own cloud provider, not us.
Interesting,
Mhm,
interesting. But let's say the bad guys, let's say I'm super important. I'm a government operative. I have
mhm.
access to nuclear secrets, whatever the heck, and they happen to be on my phone, and somebody steals my phone. What then?
So Apple encrypts your phone so that even if someone steals your phone, like even the FBI couldn't get into it, and there was all that thing. Remember, so like Apple is who is the best person that we should trust to secure your phone for you, rather than a
Okay.
company like us. So
Okay.
Apple is doing a great job with that.
There's always a few 0 days out there that some nefarious
Mhm.
company is selling to some nefarious, governments, and probably all the governments, honestly, if we're talking about it. So, I don't think there's anything such as ultimate security, but it is pretty good. I
Yeah.
will grant you that.
Mhm.
Cool. What's the pricing?
Yeah, so we're just like going to give a free model where like you get to like use it for free. You get like a standard speech recognition. You get the standard AI models, not the top tier AI models that are out there, like the thinking models that are just coming out that are expensive. But you
Mhm,
get pretty good models like GPT for O level, like Gemini, like Flash, and all that.
mhm.
Now, if you are a super user, so you everybody gets unlimited hours. We don't want to cap somebody
Wow.
because they're not paying. So you get unlimited hours, unlimited memories. The quality of the transcription might be lower because things happen on device. It doesn't cost us anything. If it's happening on device, it doesn't cost us, which is why like we don't need to charge most people. So,
Mhm,
like
mhm,
students, we have a lot of students using this to capture every single lecture. They're not paying anything. But then if you're a super user, you want like the best LLMs, you want the highest quality, the latest models that just came out, and the best transcription in 100 languages with the lowest error rate, you just have to pay like $15 a month right now
mhm.
because we were able to lower the cost so much by doing edge processing that actually makes it a good business model.
Okay, okay, very cool. And maybe last thing here, do you worry about Siri becoming able to do this, or Google Assistant, or Alexa, or Gemini, or anything like that?
So they're all like companies like Apple and Google, they are like really concerned about the privacy aspects of like recording people without their consent and all. There's all these different laws in all these countries. this thing sits in your pocket, capturing all day. So which is why they people that we've talked to at Google, like who are high up, they're like, this is like the perfect thing for a startup to do. It's kind of like what OpenAI did. They trained on everything on the internet without violating a lot of the gray area in terms of copyright laws and things like that. But Microsoft just invested in them because they didn't want to be the ones doing it
Not
initially.
liable.
Google didn't want to do it. But it is a gray area. We don't. So one of the unique things, we never save the audio anywhere on device or the cloud. It is transcribed continuously, and
Okay.
only the transcripts are being captured and the summaries are being captured. So we don't really. There's a gray area in terms of recording loss because audio is just transient. Like imagine if you had an Alexa in your home, or like you had like Apple is already listening for the Hey Siri keyword. Its
Hmm.
mic is still listening, but it doesn't actually store the audio because it's just looking for the Hey Siri. So we are doing the same thing. We're just looking for the information that you convey instead of saving the audio.
Nice, nice. I'm actually just looking at the transcript right now. I don't know if that actually shows up on the screen or not.
Right. It's too broad.
Really close. It does. Yeah, there we go. And that's pretty cool. Interesting. And I could send that around. I can edit that. Very, very cool. Well, I got to say, Daniel, interesting product, interesting app. I'll play around with it for a while and we'll see how it goes. Thank you so much for taking this time.
Yeah, yeah. I'm happy to get your feedback, and like we're all really excited for the launch coming soon.